everyone, welcome back to Pommyinoz. A very happy Pom here because we got the fucking win. Fuck you, Richmond. Way, you waggers. But serious, if you are new around here, welcome. How you doing? We're not always that aggressive. If you are new around here, though, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. It does really help the channel out. We've smashed likes and subs. We smashed 2,000 by round one. Thank you, oh thank you. You can go a step further like the legends that are below in the comments. They became members of the channel. We sponsor Domiku. We do giveaways. Rada. And if you are a returning Pommyinozer, oi, how we doing? So what a splendid evening of the footy. A lot of you joined me on the live, on the watch along. Can't thank you enough. It was great to entertain you. And what an absolute performance that was. I went into this game, didn't I? Really bullish. I was very confident. Even throughout the live, I had my feet up the majority of the way. What really impressed me here, and that is a really understated value, is system. The S word. That really won us that. When times were bad, the system held up. There was areas there, and I want to go to the first quarter. There was a lot of people in the comments and around social media who kind of fell off Carlton very early, our fan base. I don't understand it. I'm a little bit disappointed in it, to be honest, but I thought it was obvious what they were trying to do. Let me tell you a story. I remember when Steven Gerrard came at Rangers and they changed a lot of things. We looked really good in pre-season. I remember our first game of the season. We were dominating. We couldn't score. And then it finally happened. And I saw that with Carlton. The ball movement was good. They looked like they were forcing it, though. And I remember Steven Gerrard at the end of that game saying something very poignant that was a staple of his time at Rangers, which was, you've got to trust the process and it eventually happens. Doors are open, we don't smash them down. And I really saw that. I thought Cripps was a little bit loose at the start. There was a few loose kicks where they were trying to manipulate it in and not trusting the system. But why I was confident, particularly in the third as well when they were Donovan, was the system did hold up. Richmond usually kick goals. Carlton didn't have massive goal swings. They were really solid. In fact, every time Richmond scored, Carlton did have an inside 50 all but one time in that game in between their scores, which is huge because that's something that was an archetype of Teague's game. We didn't even get chances. And I thought it was a very reliable, assured performance. There was a few key changes as well in this game that not many people talk about. Whittaker swapping with Mcdonald, who had a very good game once he went on rewolt, and so did Whittaker on LyndenH. Whittaker going to a more full-back role, gave that protection. It really exposed Mcdonald, who really did hold up and stand up to the test. Obviously, that midfield, it was something I talked about in the scouting report, in the preview. This is where Richmond get hurt. Carlton dominated around the centre, particularly in the fourth. And it was very easy to see why. It's that structured approach. It's that what we talked about of players getting involved, creating space, and ultimately keeping the ball in motion. What Richmond do is they create stoppages in that area. We didn't allow them to. There was a lot of paddles. There was a lot of moving the ball forward, keeping it in motion. If Carlton keep it in motion, Richmond can't ascertain their plan. I was all in all really happy with the game. I know a lot of people have found areas of the game they're not happy with. Of course, there's ways to improve. But all in all you need in sport is a system. And that's an unarguable point. You can't argue that. Because all the great dynasties had a system first. The personnel looked good in that system. How many times do you see people leave that system who were superstars in a new system look horrible? This system really caters to Carlton. We're not a great kicking side. We're not a great handballing side. However, when you watch the second, particularly the fourth, how that works and that is negated is by what kicks you're asking. When Carlton went long in the first and they started to resort to them little pressure tactics, the wheels fell off. When people were moving to the ball carrier, moving and creating space, it looked a lot more smart. Huge shout out to Doc before we get into anything integral though. He was absolutely a class apart. Went in the high 90s, 26 touches. We talked about their forward pressure. The forward pressure in this game came from one department, Carlton. And Doc alleviated their pressure by his willingness to play 1-2s, his willingness to take the corridor on. And that is something that I am enjoying from this side. Even when it's bad and they're on the top, they still play that way. That aggressive corridor kick is taken on with a lot of chutzpah. Mitch McGovern was sensational at this aspect. And what I love about Mitch is how loose he's playing. He has become our Liam Jones. Oscar McDonald is locking down someone dangerous, allowing Mitch McGovern to be loose. And that is a much more counterproductive way, a more intuitive way to play than any other. Having your third guy doing it. Carlton looked really solid. And towards the end of that game, it was Richmond what they do to us in the first game of the season. They run away with the fourth. Carlton were unanswerable. Matt Kennedy, Chera, Hewitt, Cripps, Doc, Sard, sensational in that fourth. Really raised the bar and made it almost impossible for him. A 679 metres gained for Cripper is sensational. But Mitch McGovern there, we always talk about metres gained. It's one of the most unlooked at stats in the AFL. But genuinely, that is the king. That is one of the stats that is king in the AFL. Carlton having multiple 500s. Top 5 guys were 500. Sard 499. We'll count that as 500. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous metres gained. Shout out to PeterV as well and TDK, who really worked well. Particularly in the fourth, worked incredible in tandem and really did it. And we'll look back at this game and everyone says Carlton are a one-trick pony. They're tall forwards. The tall forwards were really not really seen. It was Durden, it was Fisher, it was them players who were doing the damage when the ball hit the deck. Always. Carlton looked a very, very side now that has stars across the board. But before we get onto the stats, I've said it for years that Carlton got it wrong with Cripper. He's never going to be Dusty Martin. I want the Dusty Martin effect from him. In the fourth quarter, this gentleman here, his eyes said something. The bell hadn't gone. Carlton were battered and bruised, but he looked at Richmond and said, I hear no motherfucking bell. And he freaking came out of them blocks punching. And by the end of that game, players started to lift because when Cripper is in that mood, no one can stop him. He doesn't have to be Dusty on that 5. He needs to be Patrick Cripps. But that leader ethos came on. Imagine going to war in the medieval times and he's your lead swordsman. Tell you what, you wouldn't need chainmail. You wouldn't need chainmail because you know with that guy swinging an axe, you're winning the games. You're winning the games. So let's have a look at some interesting stats from the game. So Carlton here, huge. 31 points coming from the centre. Right? A stat we only have had a positive balancing twice in the last 3 years and we finished bottom 2 last year. Carlton dominating that. And you've got to think that our best centre player is Sam Walsh. He's not there. We will finish top 3 in that stat. Do you know what I mean? We will finish top 3 in that stat. Lock away finals now, people, because that stat is huge. It's one of the holy trinity of AFL stats. And Carlton are dominating in that position. They've dominated them in 2 pre-season games now and the first. And they haven't dominated it. They have destroyed it. An average loss of 8 tackles per game. Dominated this area, winning by 7. We were 17th last year, and this is something that Richmond are known for. Carlton dominated this position, especially the next stat, 14 tackles inside 50. Only 17 times of the last 50 have we ever had double figures of players or multiples from forwards. Carlton smashed this. The inside 50 count is alarming, just so you know, from tackles. It's championship shit. Harry Mackay 3, 2 of which resulted in scores. Chera 2, Martin 2, Silvani 2. Then 1 from Cripps, Fisher, Hewitt, Owens and Sard. Double figures for the game. Look at how often that happens at Carlton. It's as rare as rocking horse poo. When was the last time you saw a rocking horse poo? Never. That is huge. Huge improvements. Inside 50's efficiency of over 48% resulting in a score. And the first time we've won the stat versus Richmond since 2018. An absolute huge shout out there. Now, people are going to criticise our inside 50s. You notice the bad ones. You don't notice the fact that every time it went in, and more than half the time, we left with a score. That is elite levels. That's elite levels. That's what the top teams go on. I remember watching Goodwin saying that we need to go about 50% to win games. Carlton were right on the money there, particularly in the fourth. You really saw Richmond shelve this. And this is the last start. Dominating transition. Richmond recorded more long exits out of D50 since 2016, so they were shit then. Taking away Richmond's key areas for scores. This was a huge part of how we won it. And it was very interesting what happened. Chera went to half forward. Carlton went into the fourth with the game plan they were winning this game. And that is tactical genius. It's something that, you know, I froth a tactic. I get turned on by it, probably more so than the average bear. For me, that is huge. Because we've now got a guy at the helm who you saw the difference. At half-time, there was a little bit of footage. At the start of the game, there was footage of Teague smiling, laughing and joking. Voss was business. So were the assistant coaches. There's the difference. You've got a man who leads versus a boy that follows. There's the huge difference. And Voss is the man. Voss is impeccable. The way they came out after the break says a lot about a coach. Carlton came out hard. No one now, for me, I'm going to say this. If you hear anyone on socials or anything say that Carlton haven't changed or they're wary, they've got an agenda that isn't the football club. They've got an agenda about themselves protecting it. You know, I've always been balmy and I've always looked at the bright side of life. I've always come down hard on them as well when they don't reach it because I believe. Well, right now you've seen belief come on the field. So now it's time to start getting round them and support them. Because I'll tell you what, a big part of winning that game was you guys at the ground. You guys and girls. You were fucking phenomenal, man. And I'll tell you what, the people in the chat, you were fucking phenomenal too. That kind of energy, we kept talking about it on the live. Positive energy does a lot to people in development. And they felt that. And tell you what, how good does it feel waking up, not being embarrassed, being proud of the football club. And the boys did themselves proud. More importantly, the fans did themselves proud last night as well. This is a family that is a proud family. And maybe now we have pride and something to be proud of. You know what? It's a pleasure doing these videos with you. It's a pleasure being around you guys and girls all the time. You humble my heart. I love you all implicitly, honestly, with everything that is me. Go Baggers, enjoy it. And I can't wait to preview the doggies next week. Like and subscribe. Pom out.